Though dental offices fully opened from the pandemic 2 years ago, dentists blame an abundance of chipped, cracked, and broken teeth on the virus.
23 News reporter Jim Haggerty talks with a local expert who says stress-related teeth clenching is largely to blame.
The physical effects brought on by COVID-related stress are numerous, but one of those things, called bruxism, has dentists prescribing more plastic mouth guards to prevent those chipped and broken teeth.
Broken fillings, teeth that need crowns, teeth that need to be removed.
That's what's on the rise at local dental offices, and dentists are turning to more plastic night guards than ever before.
We are making night guards on a weekly basis, if not on a daily basis.
Dr. Terry Joyner says the initial stress of the pandemic has subsided in most of his patients, but the physical signs of teeth clenching are just starting to show.
Teeth can't take hundreds of pounds of extra stress because of clenching at night. They just can't sustain that long term.
Joyner says patients who suffer from bruxism don't realize they clench until they start having problems. He says ignoring signs of grinding and clenching can be costly and painful.
I had my dentist 20 years ago tell me that I was clenching and grinding because I had weird spots on my teeth.
Elizabeth Lewis had a night guard but didn't use it. Then came more issues.
My teeth were chipping in the front, but I started to experience really bad headaches.
Lewis now wears a protective mouthpiece every night, something Joyner recommends, along with things to reduce stress.
We're now more in tune with diagnosing what some of these problems are.
Symptoms of teeth clenching can also include neck and jaw pain, tenderness in the facial muscles, and unexplained tooth discomfort.
Dentists say since the pandemic, they've also seen a rise in patients who clench their teeth during activities like driving and working on their computer.